Does shamus mean guard? What? Oh, dear. Don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. Now it's recording. You want me to start? It's early. Oh, okay. Well, I'm hi. I'm Maddie Lee, and I didn't know the mic was live. Thank you for watching, whoever you are. As you probably know, Hanukkah is among the most widely celebrated Jewish holiday in the American Jewish calendar. It is incorrectly referred to sometimes as the Jewish Christmas. It does fall in the same dark weeks in December as Christmas, and lighting candles and bonfires in the darkest time of the year goes back way before Jews and way before Christians. You've probably already been told the story, but briefly, Hanukkah celebrates a story that is not in the Jewish Bible or the Torah, which ends with the death of Moses, countless hundreds of years before. Instead, Hanukkah memorialized events in 167 BCE, when what we would now call a group of guerrilla fighters began a 3-year war against the Greek rulers who had instituted a direct and terrible oppression of the Jews, over whom they had ruled since the death of Alexander the Great 200 years before that. Things had gone along relatively peacefully, with many Jews converting to Greek pagan traditions, but many Jews going about their own business and worshiping in the temple. But under Antiochus, the Greeks established a new city directly opposite the Temple Mount, and they intentionally defiled the temple with pagan rites, including the sacrifice of pigs on the altar. Resistors were offered the choice of becoming pagans or dying. The story of Hannah is that one by one, each of her 7 sons was called to bow down to a statue of Zeus in the public square. And one by one, they were killed as they refused, and she watched. And she then took her own life. But I digress. The resistance was cruelly crushed, and it was only a small band led by the priest Mattathias who escaped to the hills of Judea with his sons. He had killed a Jew who sacrificed under the Greek cult and torn down the sacrilegious altar. But he was an old man, and he died soon after their escape to the hills. And upon his death, the rebels were led by Judah, later named Judah the Maccabee, or the Hammer. Over 3 years, with all of the advantages that guerrillas have, knowledge of the terrain, familiarity with the people, very nimble and able to move more quickly than armies, they were able to defeat the Greek army and reclaim the temple, where they scoured the defiled sanctuary, tore down the pig-defiled altar, and built a new one. They also rekindled the great menorah that stood in the inner sanctum of the temple. And here's a note for tourists. If you go to Rome, take a look at the Arch of Titus, which has a picture of the captured menorah after the final defeat and destruction of the temple. And there it is in marble. Okay, here comes the oil part. Sanctified oil was required for temple use, but only 1 jar remained, still sealed with the seal of the high priest. It should have been enough for only 1 night, but the Jews were going to celebrate for 8 days. One legend has it that because they had been unable to celebrate other holidays while they were in hiding, they vowed that they would celebrate when they retrieved the temple. Whatever the reason, their celebrations went on for 8 days, and the oil, supposedly only for 1 day, lasted all 8. The victory, by the way, was glorious, but very short-lived. Judah was killed in battle 5 years later, and the resistance gradually fell apart. Rebelling again in 66 AD, the Jews of Judea again rebelled against an occupying power, this time the Romans. But Roman legions surrounded the city and began to slowly squeeze the life out of the Jewish stronghold. By the year 70, the attackers had breached Jerusalem's outer walls and began a systematic ransacking of the city. The assault culminated in the burning and total destruction of the temple that served as the center of Judaism. And you can read about that in the words of Josephus, who was a Jew who converted and wrote from the Roman point of view about many of the crucial elements and instances in the end of the Jewish temple. The Romans slaughtered thousands of Jews, and of those they spared from death, thousands more were enslaved and sent to toil in the mines of Egypt. Others were dispersed to arenas throughout the empire to be butchered for the amusement of the public. The temple's sacred relics were taken to Rome, where they were displayed in celebration of the victory. Because Hanukkah is not mentioned in the Jewish Bible, it is not a major holiday. But the ancient rabbis chose, after 200 years, to recognize it, and it has been celebrated in one form or another ever since. Okay, part 2. How do we light the candles? You may not know it, but pages and pages and pages are written on the subject of whether it should be from left to right or right to left. The school of Shammai felt it should be from the right. The school of Hillel felt it should be from the left. And eventually what they said was, you will light them. Sorry, ignore that. You will light them from left to right. But you will put them in their holders from right to left. So, how am I going to light the candles? Because when I realized I was going to be lighting, screwing in the lights, I had a dilemma. Which order should I light them in? I am lighting them here, facing them, which means I light from left to right. But we are doing this in some sense together, and to you, it will look like right to left. So I suggest you turn around, and then it'll be right. And we say, maybe, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, who has blessed us and recognizes the lights of Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu. No, that's wrong. It's wrong. Sorry. Ignore this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asa nisim lavoteinu, bayamim hahem, ba'azman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, Lord God, ruler of the universe, who performed miracles for our forefathers in those days at this time. Okay, now, the last thing, Hanukkah at Woodland Pond, 2012. Martin Horwitz, of blessed memory, my husband who died a year ago, was still very much alive, and we were asked to help out. But he was a part of the Yiddish group, which was quite small in those days. It was about 7 people, and it was meeting sporadically. And he came home from one of the meetings one day and said, the Yiddish group has decided it's going to do a latke party. And I said, oh, that sounds great. And he said, well, I said we could do the latkes. And I said, no problem, 7 people. So the day approaches and Martin says, we probably better shop. And I say, fine. And he says, I think we'll need about 5 pounds of potatoes. And I said, what are you talking about? There are only 7 of you. And he said, oh, no. We're giving the party, but the whole community is welcome. And I did make 180 latkes that year. And people did come and they did eat them. And I am never going to do that again. So, Hag Sameach, we have one more light to go. Martin used to say that Hanukkah coming at this time means that each night we beat back the darkness by one more candle. And it has certainly never felt as necessary to me as it does now. Hag Sameach to you all.